never know. But our microphones are very sensitive, so I've advised the candidates not to grab the mic, but just to stand around it. It will capture their sound all around this area. So when you see them, they can stand anywhere and these mics will capture the sound. The format for tonight is we're going to have 3-minute introductions. There'll be a 2-minute bell. Auntie Stuffy is our timekeeper. She will not be compromised. We're not doing the long version tonight, no. She's going to have a 2-minute bell, and then we will do 3 minutes in total. Following on from that, I'm really grateful we've got heaps of questions from our whānau. So over dinner, whānau wrote down questions, and we've got quite a few for the mayoral candidates, and we've got quite a few for the Māori candidates. So we're going to do some quick fire 1-minute responses from our candidates. It'll be the same format for our mayoral candidates as well. So earlier today, for those of you
Ingoa, I whānau mai ki Whangārei, Terenga Parāoa, engari I tupu ake au ki taki wairua kāka. Nō reira kia ora tātou katoa. So great that many of you have been able to come out tonight. Beautiful kai beforehand and the presentation. Ngā mihi mahana kia koutou katoa. My mum rings me up and she says, and this is a little over 30 years ago, I can still remember it, but Deb, can you come out home? I've got to put this morning tea on, and it's over at Nana Pop's house opposite the Takiwai Marae. And so off I go there, and yeah, sure enough, there's a lot of whānau there and cars on the driveway, and I help her with the morning tea. And 2 hours later, I came out of there on a Patuhara Keke Progression's Claim Committee. I'm like, what even is that? And that was the journey for me to come and work with the Whangārei hapu claimants on our Te Paparahi o Te Raki inquiry applications. And so that will show you the connection that I have to Whangārei with our hapu, with our whānau in mind, and the journey that we went on. And I need to also explore the reason why I'm here and standing is the governance experience that I hold. And in particular, you see some of it, we're actually already in the council. Some of you mightn't know that, but we have a standing committee called Te Kaikōrero. There are 8 hapu reps, of which I am one of them, that are already at the table, discussing, debating, negotiating with them. This is how we got the Māori wards in the first place. So I want to tell you that that's my strength. I can continue to do that for you at the tepu in the council. And also I have this strong stand around planetary health. And I feel like this is going to be the way that we can hook our rangatahi in there, because they have this in their conscience all the time. How is that going to affect us? It affects everything that we do. If it impacts on our rising sea levels for our moana, it'll impact on our whenua, it'll impact on us as tangata, it'll impact on our economic development environment, and we all know this. And I've had a role, I know how important the dollar is and how you stretch it. I've had an acting chief executive role with Te Uriho Settlement Trust. We needed to put a 25-year hapu plan in together for that hapu of the kaipara, and we needed to stretch that dollar and make it work. How did we do that? You got to collaborate. You got to work with central government, don't you? You got to work with your neighbouring hapu iwi and other organisations. It's nothing dissimilar than what you need to do in the council. And so this is what I can bring to the council. I can bring this commitment, I can bring that integrity and this continuing governance level to work for you on your behalf at the Whangārei District Council. I'm Deb Harding, standing for the Māori Ward. Kia ora tātou.
tātou katoa, so my name is Simon Mitchell. I'm married with 4 kids just living up on the hill here in Morningside. Yep, kia ora. So I'm named after my great-grandfather, Wihi Kaufata, who's from Ngātirangi and Ngātiwai, and then my great-grandma was a whātaro. And then my grandma is a Ormsby from Kāwhia, so Tainui, so that's a bit about me. I'm the Minister of Finance for Ngātiwai Trust Board and a commercial director, so that's really what I do, is looking after money alongside Angeline here in the front row. And look, we need to value our rates. We need to make sure we're getting every benefit from that dollar. If you follow Ngātiwai, you'll know that I was a big part of making massive changes and changing around how we look financially, and also making sure the financials are clear to our people. And I would do the same thing for the council. Ruthless is probably a bit of a strong word, but yeah, I'm ruthless when it comes to that, mainly because I want to see our future generations prosper and not wasting our money away. Secondly, I believe in co-governance. So too often the council comes to us. Where's Aaron? Aaron's good, Aaron and Mark are good, but the rest of them come and they've already kind of predetermined their decisions, and they say they're consulting with us, but we can't influence that decision at all. They've already made it. So we need to change that narrative, and we need to co-govern. We need to also, so it's co-govern, but we need to co-design and co-create together. Thirdly, youth. So working with our youth. Jodie's here. Where's Jodie? Here. She's giving me a hard time, because a lot of people talk about youth, but they're not actually doing anything with youth. But I really believe in our youth, and they're the voice of our future. So I talked a little about it before, about how I've been working with our youth to show them that they can actually make changes in council. And that's what I would bring. Keep showing our kids that, you know, they can be a voice for council. The next part is I believe that our communities have the solutions. So we've been really effective in bringing the council to whangaruru and being really focused as a community and putting our issues forward to the council and also our solutions. And we've seen massive gains because of that. So part of my beliefs, and if I was elected, would be to come out to our different rural kāinga Māori and hear from you, because I know that you've got the solutions, and invest in you and our future. So kia ora tātou. I'll finish with my song. Everyone keeps on twisting my arm to sing my song. So yeah, tell all your friends and your whānau, that's the trick. Vote Simon Mitchell, tick, tick, tick. Good up.
Tēnei kia koutou kia tātou e hui nei raro I te marumaru o tēnei whare o tātou. Te reo o te iwi is my wharenui, and I've also captioned that as my banner, if you like. And that simply means the voice of the people. So it's not so much the thoughts that I have, but that I am a vessel for the thoughts that you have. And to be in the places and gather those thoughts are the places that we congregate at. You can see that there are committed and interested people who have arrived here tonight, but how many more sit out there in communities that are isolated from and aren't actually coming to functions like this? But we are occasion people. We are people who come together for events. We see that in the fact that we go to tangi, we're at hura kohatu, and those, if you listen to the taumata and those who are speaking, are hotbeds of discussion, kōrero, take, that are often brought into the realms of the orator, but in the little seats when you're sitting next to the nannies and the aunties, and you're all talking about the land issues and who's done this and who's done that, what's not happening in your area. Those are the places where we need to have our ear to the ground, because it's not going to be in halls and meetings that we're going to be able to bring together this kōrero. So I'm here to tell you that I'll be a voice for the people. I don't have all the answers. In fact, I don't believe I need to have all the answers, because the answers are in you, in our community, in the people who are knowledgeable. But we have to be willing, if we're going to sit at that table, we have to be willing to āta whakarongo, āta titiro, āta whakaro, ki ngā kōrero o tō tātou nei iwi, o Whangārei. So I'm coming here to say to you, I'm willing, anei ahau. He krani māma ahau. I have actually I have 2 great-grandchildren. And I am willing and committed, as I have been in other things, to do the job, to go the course, to be out there with our people and for our people, because it's all about us. It's actually, if I were to really hone down on it, it's about my grandchildren and the life after I've left here. And I'm sure that's what we all want. I do acknowledge that we need to have our ears to the ground to all sorts, not just our own demographic, our own age group, our younger ones, our taiohi, and the issues that they have. So, you know, a vote for Auntie Pauline is a vote for someone who will listen to you, who will take it and be unafraid to bring it to the table. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora.
Aki runga, ka piki whakaronga hau ki te tihi o tōku maunga, ko whakatere manawa ka iaia, tūpakari ana i te ao, i te pō, i te wini, i te wana. Kei reira anō, te waikawe oranga o tāheke, e hirere atu ana ki te hokianga whakapau karakia, ki te marae nui, o hine moana o tira ia tangaroa whakamautai. Kei reira anō, ka huri, ka heke iho taku tirohanga, ki te whare tūpuna o tāheke roa e tūwhakamaru ana i a Ngāti Pākau hapu, no reira ko te kaihoi o te waka ngātuki matawhaurua, tuku mihi atu ki a koutou. Tuatahi ake, me mihi ka tika ki tō tātou nei atu ana, nā nei ngā mea katoa, nā nei homai, nā nei tango, no reira ai, whai kororia ki tōna ingoa tapu. Ko tāna, ka puta ko rangi ko papa, mai i a rāua, ko puta ka tāne, nāna te hāi puta i a hine ahuone, ka puta ko tātou tira tanga tā, no reira mihi atu ki a tātou katoa. Ka huri aku whakaaro ki ngā tini mate ko whiturangi tia, moi mai roto i te āhuatanga o tō tātou nei kaihanga. Tā rātou i piko ngia e runga tō tātou nei poko hiwi, tāku ki a rātou, haere mai. Hura no ku whakaaro ki a tātou e hui tahi nei, raro i te karanga o tāwhiri, mihi atu ki a tātou, nā ku te tino Mai Māori e te tū, i Wainganui te pātū o tēnei whare, nā te mea, i ki te hau, tētahi o waku tūpuna, ko kāka, mai i a kāka, ka puta ko hone, waipuna kāka, ko tāna, ka puta ko aira te ao tauri kāka, mai i a tāna, ka puta ko tōku karani māma ko Eivu Poa, ko tāna, ka puta ko tōku māma e noho mai nei, e tū mai nei a hau e kōrera atu ki a koutou, no reira mihi atu ki a tātou. Kia ora whānau, ko Phoenix Roka tēnei, born and raised here in the beautiful Whangārei, i raro i te reke o Parihaka Maunga, and I'm here humbly as a māngai for our rangatahi, as a hononga for our rangatahi, to be able to speak the language of our rangatahi, to speak the kōrero of our taiohi, and take that kōrero into these council spaces. I've talked about it before, but the major goal of why I wanted to see myself in this space was so other rangatahi like myself can see themselves in this space. Growing up in those, for lack of a better word, in those hardship type of spaces, places, I didn't even know to stand for council was a possibility for myself. And I think a lot of our rangatahi are the same. They didn't know you could stand for council. They still don't know that you can stand for mea. So my goal in this stand is just to show our rangatahi a way forward that yes, you can too be on the billboard, yes, you can too be the mayor of Whangārei. Nō reira, koena tāku. E mihi ana.
Mihi ana ki te whare. Tūana au he uri o Whangārei. The long list of hapu that we are and that we're connected to across not only Whangārei, to the coast, to Mangakahia. This is us, and it's perfect that we're here tonight in Whangārei, te Terenga Parāoa, Mārae. Tautoko our fellow candidates, and that's the difference that we have, I think, as whanaunga standing in the first term of Māori wards. It's a very exciting time, and as a uri, as a kaimahi, and with time and governance as well, we've been waiting for this time, you know, and so was happy to stand and be part of this wave, this buzz, towards getting two Māori elected to the decision-making table for the first time in a long time. We know the challenge that would be, and I believe I have skills to contribute. It will take a lot of diligence, and coming from a taiao background, science, working in research, rangahau, I love mapping, I love aorohe, and have committed my career so far to our people and our whenua. This is a natural next step for me. I'm not going to do the CV kōrero, but I do want to point out what's coming in the next 3 years, 5 years. There's reforms underway. This is just the start, actually, of a huge amount, a wave of tirohanga Māori coming into decision making, not only at this tipu of elected representatives, but we also have Three Waters is coming, and that has a reference group which is with elected representatives. We have local government reform coming up. This means that the whole shape of this tipu may change, and the decisions that are made about the rohe and the way those decisions are made are changing. And the resource management reform. And these are things that, as a kaimahi for our hapu, a technical person who does the deep dive into the detail and then shares that information to our people, you know, these are the things that I think we need the voice there who's going to engage fully in those reforms coming up and gain the gains of a generation for climate change, for te taiao, for our communities to be healthy and well. The potholes, that's just the start of it. You know, there's heaps coming up whānau, and so just mihi to everyone, because we're the passionate, but get your whānau to vote, and the young ones, we've probably already voted. Mihi ana kia koutou. Kia ora.
For our Māori candidates, but also for our mayoral ones. So the first question is really cool. It was actually quite beautiful, because the question is, how would your kaumātua career describe you? How would my granny describe me? Don't answer that, man. But we're going to go to Auntie Deb first. How would your kaumātua describe you, Deb? Kia ora. How much time
Kia ora anō tātou. I hope they say I'm intelligent, and maybe they might say cheeky intelligent, but I think that they could depend on me. I'd definitely follow through with what they would want us to do, and This is dumb, this is... sorry. Yeah, I'm good at making a cup of teas. Yeah, but I think I'm pretty reliable. I'm reliable and yeah, that would do it. Kia ora.
That was a great 30-second response, Auntie Deb.
Thank you.
And while it might feel awkward, it's also a tribute to all of your different mahi within our people. And this is your chance to talk about what your grannies would say about you, Simon Mitchell.
One of the aunties at the table, she's not a kuia, but she said I've got a caring face, so yeah. Probably there too. No, I think like, I went to Whananaki the other day, and a lot of young people were talking to me, and they said that they see me quite often looking after Auntie Kath Caldwell, if you know Auntie Kath Caldwell. So I think that's what they say about me, someone that cares even when, not for show or just, when people aren't looking, caring for our kaumātua. And yeah, someone that cares for our kids, I think, and loves our community. Yep.
I think they'd say that I was reliable and responsible, and sometimes it's hard to be when you feel that you're responsible and that you have to do the thing. But I think if there was something that I thought about, I will often take on responsibility simply because I feel responsible that someone has to do it. So I'd say that they would say that about me. That I was responsible and that I could do the job. Mind you, I'd have to say I grew up with role models that were high achievers and set a template of community service and community focus for me. So yeah, I'd say that. It is a two-edged sword, but it is what it is.
Depends which nan you ask. If you're talking to my nan on my dad's side, she will tell you that I'm a great eater, and she'll just keep feeding me until I couldn't move. So if you ask her, that's what she'll tell you. Great eater, but that was how she showed manaki, and so that's something that she's bestowed upon me. Showing manaki through cooking, feeding people, and sitting down and waiting for everyone to eat before you eat. So that's something that my nan's instilled in me from my dad's side. My mum's nan, or my mum's mum, she will tell you probably that she would say about me that, one, I probably should put myself more into these spaces because I have the skills and the abilities to be in these spaces, but in my perception of what humbleness looks like and humility looks like, I won't put my hand up to put myself in these situations. So I took my nan and I took my aunties to voluntold me to be in this position. It's true.
It's hard to kind of consider this because your mind goes straight to the ones who aren't here with us anymore. Yeah. I know my tangi wito, so I'm like, oh damn it, as soon as that question came up. But you know what? Maybe I'll quote some. And I was one of the first, mokos to go to university, and I think that was a big deal for our nan. And she was like, you're smart, and you're gonna be flash. That was her words. And so if anything, maybe that was her prediction for me. But now I'm thinking to kaumātua today. I work with many kaumātua across the rohe, and the quote that pops into my mind, and I'm even going to say who said it, it was Pari Walker, and he said, Nikki, you're annoying, you ask too many questions, and we need you. That was it in regards to some whenua issues we were having. Yeah.
Our next question, so we've talked about our kaumātua, now we're going to look at our young people. So, we hear very often, I believe the children are but then they are looked at poorly as well as a part of the problem in our district. So if you were successful to get into council, what would be some of your priorities for our young people? What would you look to, instill so that they feel a sense of belonging as a part of Whangārei city and district? We'll go to Auntie Deb. Kia ora.
Well, clearly, if you know me, I would get them to play 3-on-3 basketball because that tunes them and it gets them really gasping for breath, and it makes them, form some form of discipline, but they'll actually enjoy it as well. But rangatahi is so different these days. Before I coach basketball, and you can't even yell at a young person anymore. So they got to tell us how it is that they want their voices to be heard, because you're all different now, and our tamariki are grown up. But I'd make them play basketball hard, and then I'd try and get from them, how is it that you want to be engaged and interact? Because you're really different these days, and we need to respect that, So I'm always about doing something sporty, something active, something that really engages them mentally as well as socially. Kia ora.
Are well known in sports, so maybe to winning a lot out of Simon, in terms of young people, how are we for
We've got to get them to see what council can do for them. I don't know if I should say this, but I don't even think I've really voted in local elections before. I'll drop that bombshell, and that was just because I didn't really know how council even worked or how it even related to me. So what I've done, and I talked about it a bit earlier, is I got a couple of our kids to talk from their heart about what it would mean to have parks in their area. And they were successful, and now those two kids are going to be a massive example for all of our kids in Whangārei. And now they will go away knowing that they can make change in council and they can see how it affects them. So trying to get our kids to see exactly what council can do for them, and then helping them to, I guess, amplify their voice. Kia ora.
Mine's not so much an answer. I'm probably in the same camp as Deb, except I'd be putting them in a kapahaka group and drilling them, and as we continue to do today. But the thing about that is that seems a plausible and rather doable thing, but actually it costs money to do all that. And that seems to be the problem, is just being able to get to sport, the gear for the sport, everything else. That's the hard bit. Even for kapahaka, if you want a team, you're nothing without a team. You've got to make sure that it's accessible for everybody. Ahakoa ko wai no hea tarato status, financial status. That's going to be the hard thing. There are things to do. It's about access. So, kia ora.
Yeah. Alright, so for me, rangatahi is the main reason why I'm standing. To be a conduit between the voices of our rangatahi and in those council spaces. So what I like to bring in terms of my relationship with rangatahi in my mahi, for the past decade, youth work is what I've been a part of. So it's my ability to empathise with these tamariki, these so-called naughty, troubled tamariki, because once upon a time that was me filling those shoes. So I'm able to empathise and have that discussion with these rangatahi, because ko tawa tērā, because that's both of us. I see myself in these tamariki, and in that I see, yes, the tutu, the nanakia, the hianga, but I also see the potential for growth and change. So I guess for me, because I can empathise with our rangatahi, I think I can be able to gather all of their kōrero and take it into these spaces and powerfully back up their kōrero as someone who's grown up in this community.
Council has a lot of levers that it can pull to progress. the question related to challenges, and these are actually, that's a very diverse and broad conversation. I think what I would look for in leadership from the council is to be like a coordinator, to bring people together to mahi tahi or not, and celebrate the mahi that's being done to address the diverse range of issues for tai tamariki, rangatahi, taiohi, all the way through. And this council doesn't have a strategy for that. We don't have a youth strategy that is a living, breathing thing that all of the different voices have fed into. So that's just way overdue. And there's people in this room that I know you're going to have input into that strategy when that occurs. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Having been to quite a few of the candidate events around the district, there are some consistent themes that are a part of the partai. So I do want to go to one of the partai that have been shared quite a bit across candidate events, and it's to do with free waters and the changes that are coming. Can you tell us in 1 minute your position on the Three Waters reform and what you understand in terms of that position for our whānau to share around your whakaro about? So we'll go to Auntie Deb first. Kia ora.
And this is the last one, eh?
Yep.
Kia ora. Aroha mai. Look, it's a beast day been thrown at us, and I do have to sympathise with the council because they have invested heavily in the last 10 years on our infrastructure for our stormwater, our wastewater and our drinking water. Engari, we know as Māori about the loss of our own assets taken under the Public Works Act, etc, etc, etc. So aroha mai, but aroha mai back. And the biggest thing for us as Māori is it will force co-governance, all right? So whatever the beast that comes at us, that there will be 50-50 representation in terms of governance decision making, and Māori will have 50% of those seats. Ka pai, so that is my understanding, sharing it with you. Aroha and aroha mai back.
I guess I've been on the campaign trail for a while, and everyone keeps on throwing out different numbers of the cost of infrastructure. Some say 1.4, some say 1.5, some say 1.2. So we can't even get the blooming cost right. That's what I've been hearing anyway. But from my point of view, look, I support the Three Waters. I want to see that at least we get to co-govern that resource if it goes ahead. And on the flip side of that, we can use some of our rates on different things, more important things like like our youth and community enhancement as well. So, kia ora.
Kia ora.
I agree with the advent of Three Waters. Simply, it does lead us down the road to co-governance, and it gives us at the table. But more importantly, it's about the water. Hea te mea nui o tēnei kaupapa ko te wai. Te wai e hono tahi ai tātou katoa. Te wai, hātea. Our streams up the back of our marae, the mangakino, down into o tuiho. I want to see that waters and those waters and the waters we drink and the other waters, stormwater. I want to see us taking care of that. That really is the main take. The great thing is that we're at the table with that, and I agree with it.
Kia ora.
I just have to reiterate the kōrero of our whānau here. I think te mea nui, our Māori have a seat at the table in terms of the discussions around our wai. As we know, wai plays a major part in rongoa for Māori, where we come from, ko wai koe, ko wai hau. So all of that. So for Māori to have a seat at that table, then looks at co-governance, then looks at a te tiriti-based partnership in terms of how our te tiriti or waitangi was supposed to be acknowledged. So to have that seat at the table, to be able to make the decisions around our wai, who uses it, who parus it, who cleans it. I'm keen to be a part of that kōrero. Nō reira, kia ora whānau.
1 minute, and it's nicer than a yes/no answer because there's been heaps of that. It's been a complicated reform, and it's been coming at us in waves. And there's the regulator now in place, and now we're looking at Entity A being established, which will take in from the Waikato North. There's concerns that will be the tail end of tamariki, you know, by population, by rate taking. These are concerns. How will decisions be made? But I need to point out as well, I don't accept the council's argument that we're in shipshape when it comes to our stormwater, wastewater, potable water. On all three of those, we can look through the headlines and look at Māori issues. On each one of them, we have poroti. We have the wastewater treatment plant, which is still discharging to Whangārei, te Terenga Parāoa, and in the resource consent that's underway now, we argued for land-based disposal, and we're told there's not enough money. Anō, hikarangi repo, still mincing tuna, not enough money.
Online as well for Tai Tokiro today, and it's in our whare. So acknowledging our mayoral candidates that have arrived, and ask you to come and join us up front. Come on, there's Nick Jacobs, there's Cousin Jaquil, there's Uncle Vince. No, my haere mai, grab a seat, we've got 6 of you, so anywhere you want to sit, e pai ana. Once you've got a seat, just in the door. Okay.
First of all, if I can acknowledge the candidates to the Māori board, the very first candidates to the Māori board. Secondly, if I can acknowledge the candidates to the mayoralty. Greetings to you all, gentlemen. Welcome, thrice welcome to Terenga Mārae, and to the people who are here tonight to listen to you and to hear you. Mārae, nau mai pihi mai kahi mai koutou, koe tai mene hiro mai tō tātou marae tēnei hawa te kōne. Ia tuna kia koutou katoa, tātou katoa e hui e tēnā koutou kia ora hui mai tātou.
Māturaka,
te Terenga Parāoa, ka tai mai kiuta ko parihama. E rangi tēni me te lalangi tangata ki te whenua, ka heke ka ngaro. Huri no, tēnā koutou, te ora hui mai tātou.
He wāhi mihi koto tēnei, ki te kōtoko ngā mihi o Pakistani taipari, e mihi atu ana kia koutou. Aotira e te tungane Shaquille, e noho I tēnei wā ki raro I te kapua kauri, I te rironga o tō krani, e mihi nui ana kia aku me tō whānau. E te whānau, we have 6 of our 7 mayoral candidates here, and really excited to have them in our whare, Kākāpōroni. I outlined earlier to our candidates that we're live streamed. This microphone here will pick up any sound, so you can stand wherever you want to, and our cameras are there to get the good angles. Okay? It's all about the good angles, and we're an audience, but it's all about the live stream for you. Please feel free to use the footage according to your own tikanga once you see it. It's there to share your key messages. The format that we had for our candidates was focused on 3-minute intros. You're professionals by now. Well, this is about 3 weeks of candidate events. This is the last week really. So this is their last big week of every day there's a candidate event. So I appreciate they've just come from Whangārei and they've whipped over here to share kōrero. 3-minute intro and then 1-minute quick fire responses. We have had a request, so whānau earlier over dinner provided some questions and there's tons of questions, but we won't be able to get to all of them. But we have had a request from whānau in the crowd if they can ask a couple of questions if the wairua takes them there. So according to paying respects to our grannies who requested the ability to get on the mic, we could go there, so that's just letting you know that. But we're going to go into about 3-minute introductions right now to whānau. Many of you may not have met our mayoral candidates today, so this is a really awesome opportunity to hear from them. This is for the live stream, but you still need to project your voice. Yeah? Okay, so we're going to start over on our taha Māori. We'll go to Ken Cooper. Mo mai te pakipaki.
Ena mana ena reo, pro whanga Terenga, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I acknowledge the elders and the kaumātua. I acknowledge fellow speakers, and I acknowledge you as a rangatira, the people that we serve. I wonder if that's loud enough. Maybe I should speak up a little bit.
You just project your voice.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ken Cooper. My grandmother on my mother's side was Ruby Pickens, Ruby Booth. She married Ernie Pickens, Whangārei. They had a daughter called Pat, and on my father's side, my grandfather was Ken Cooper. He married an Oriole Cooper, who was my grandmother. They had 3 sons, Lindsay, who was a doctor in town, Ian, who was a doctor, chemist in town. The youngest, Peter, whose claim to fame is that he was my father. So he married Pat. So here I am, standing before you today, and I'm asking for your vote to lead the council in the next term of local government. I am married with 4 children. The oldest 2 are twins. They're 28 years old, boy and a girl. They've left home and are working away quite satisfactorily, thank you. The middle one is 23. She's left home and working away quite satisfactorily, thank you. The youngest one has left home and is still at university, and we would like some satisfaction there, but I think it will come. So we are hopeful there. I've been farming all my life, 4th generation dairy farmer, and I hope that there are some questions later on about the whenua and how we deal and look after that. And I have always worked to a plan, and I, along with my wife, who is a true partner in our business, have finally reached a stage where I'm no longer required on a day-to-day basis of running our farm. I've got 1 more minute. So what I'd like to say, we'll move on from that, is that having been out, I'm passionate about this job. I have worked hard trying to find out what the issues are, and they are value for rates. If we're going to take money off you, we must make sure we are spending it wisely. We must have a safe, family-friendly community. We must know if our nurses go to the hospital, they will come out into the car park and be safe coming home. If our old people want to go into town, they will be safe and looked after on the public transport and those sort of areas. And we want our children to be able to get to school safely and come home again. We need affordable homes because we are short of homes and the price is too hard and too high, and the barriers to get into homes are too much, and we are working on council already with a co-governance group on that, and we will have a strategy coming out soon. And we must pass on an environment for our next generations that is working. Thank you.
That's Ken Cooper, your first candidate standing from here. We're going to our second candidate, Cousin Shakira
tākina, tākina, tākina mai te manu o te rangi, here mai, here mai, here mai. Here mai e tāne kia Māori atu koe ki tērā whenua, ki tērā moana wai ho atu ai. Mā ue ki mai kia taraia mai he hoi, mā ue ki mai kia taraia mai he waka kia haka haumaru i te tangata. Tū te tauihu, tū te taurapa, tō manoa e kurana ki tāku manoa kārihia ki wai anuku, kārihia ki wai orangi kawhitia hau ki te whai au ki te ao mārama tupu kere kere e tupu wana wana ka hara mai te tō ki a haumi e hui e. Tai ki. A tēnei te mihi kia tātou katoa ki ngā kaihaka haere o te kaupapa nei. Tēnā koutou, kia koe anō hoki e matua taipari māue hakatau mai a mātou kei wainganui a tātou i tēnei pō, a tēnei te reo mihi kia tātou katoa. Ko Shakil Shortland tōku ingoa, he uru no konei, he uru no ngā kokonga e whā o ngā puhi, te whare tapu o ngā puhi e mihi atu nei, e karanga atu nei kia koutou i tēnei pō. I te taha a tōku pāpara, he uri no roto i Ngāti Hene te ore wai pipi wai. I te taha a tōku māmara, he pīhere no roto i mga kāhia pakotei, Ngāti te rino a Ngāti toki. I te ata hāpara, i rongo atu ana hau ki te oha ki o taku karaini māma i wehi atu ki te pō. Ko ana kupu oha ki kia mātou e te whānau, kia maia, kia kaha. Ko ia nahe ngā kupu ki a mātou. Ko ia te take e tuana hau ki konei. I raro i te tuanui a tō tātou nei whare tupuna. E tū mai ana ki te tū hei koro matua mō tō tātou nei rohea Whangārei. E whakapono ana hau i tēnei ara mō tātou te iwi Māori. Kia haere ngā tahi ngā au e rua. Ki te anga haka mua mō tātou katoa, ngā kaumatua, ngā kuia, ngā tai tamariki. Ngā rōpu katoa o te rohe o Whangāreina. Tēnei te reo mihi atu kia koutou i tēnei pō. A tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Hurupaki te maunga, ko Waitangi te awa, ko Kurahopo te waka, ko Ngāpui toko iwi, ko Tauwhara toko marae, ko Charles takamatua, ko Teresa toko whaia, ko Darwin toko wahine, ko Emily ro Charlie taku tamahine, ko Blake toko tama, ko Brad toko ingoa, no kamo ahau. Firstly, on behalf of the other candidates, we want to offer our condolences to Shakil and his whānau for their loss. We felt it at Onarahi. We felt you not being there. So yeah, we wish you all the best. Next, I'd really like to thank Nikki and Simon for being on this journey with us. They seem to have been to every meeting we were at. We missed you at Onarahi as well, but we realised you were here. I don't think people realise the amount of work that they are putting in to go to all of these events, and some of them aren't very pleasant. And I'll just put that out there, but they're still fronting up, so big mihi to you guys. Yeah, I've started out on this journey. I've wanted to do this for about 20 odd years, and I think mainly if it comes down, because I think I can make a difference. I've worked in the volunteer sector for the last 30 years in governance roles, in education and sports. So I've spent 12 and a half years on the board of Hurupaki School. I was on the board of Kāmo High School for 3 years. I'm currently on the board of Tikipunga High School and have been re-elected onto that board for another 3 years. Been involved with Kāmo football 33 years. I was on the board of Northern Rugby League and also in governance in the civil construction industry. I was on the local branch, I am on the local branch exec, and I've been there for 17 years. So that's my passion, comes from helping people. I don't think you have longevity in that sector without actually having a passion for people and a passion for making things better. And the driver of what I'm always involved is it's always based around children in sport, whether it's in sport or school. That's been my passion, is around kids. I've spent 30 years in the civil infrastructure area, 20 of those years in senior leadership, so I know how to manage people, I know how to manage diverse groups of people and bring them together. So I think that one of the things I have is I know that I can get the strengths out of everybody. It doesn't matter which demographic you come from. I think that I can work with you and get the best so that we all end up paddling the waka in the same direction. I think if we The three waters will come up later on, but I think we've got to start looking forward, because if we're always looking backwards, we'll end up going backwards. So, yeah, Brad, hopefully we get your vote and trusting you to do a good job. Kia ora.
Yes, I'm Mai Māori. Thank you very much for inviting us here tonight and sharing your time with us tonight. To the Māori ward councillors, if you're not nervous, then you're not human, and it's been a tough ride. We've talked about security, and we missed them tonight. We've become quite a whānau on this trip, to be very, very honest. We really, really have. For me, Whangārei is my home. My grandparents had their waka journeys over here in the past. In fact, Granddad Bud was a lighthouse keeper on Cape Terenga in 1913, and my other granddad, Peeves, was a tarera. He was up in Kaikōrero digging gum in the gum fields up there. So we go back a long way, and you know, part of where I've come from and my journey is Whangārei Boys High School. I left there, I became a carpentry apprentice, used my hands to make things. I finished that apprenticeship, turned 21 and got married all inside 10 days. So my life changed very quickly. And it was interesting that I had to sort of look after my family. I grew up with a mum, solo mum, and two other brothers, so life's been a little bit different for me on some side of the tracks when I first grew up too. But what I've learnt from taking my family away to try and do better is success is about working with people. And I've had 20 years of senior leadership roles in corporate and cooperative and family and franchise businesses. And in all of those businesses, it's the diversity that makes the team work really well. And those 20 years of being part of a team, my ethos is to be part of a team that has a great outcome. I'm not a leader that works with a stick. I'm a leader that tries to work within to grow things. And it's taught me that you get more from working within and working with all of the people, all of the diversity of ranges that you work with those people to make things happen. Your mayor that you choose, and you choose the person you feel is right for you. Your mayor's not an elected dictator. There's someone who has to work with people. They have to work with lots of people. And my goal is to work with new, fresh, energetic people that create a culture that actually looks after the well-being and the best interests of anybody else who calls Whangārei home. Kia ora.
So first of all, privilege, thank you for inviting me. I've prepared a mihi. Ko nik taku ingoa, no unst oku te puna. E te mai oku te puna ki Aotearoa I te tau 1870. E noho ana au ki Nungaru. Ko tēnei taku mihi ke ngā tangata whenua o te rohe nei. Ke mihi hoke o ke ngā toho o te rohe nei. Nā raira, tēnā koutou katoa. Nāku te raurau, nau te raurau, ka ora ai te iwi. And this is my favourite one. It's a reminder to myself as much as anyone else. Ka ori te kumara, e kōrero ana mō, tōna aki reka. Hi, I've worked at council for 20 years in customer services, and that's what's motivated me to stand. I've seen a lot of things council does that it has control over, that it can change and improve people's lives. I have a lot of policies, they're all on my website, nickjacobfrommayor.nz, but tonight I'd like to talk to you in particular about papakāinga. You've probably all heard about the $1 kāinga homes, and so I end up being the council sucker that has to deal with that. And what I see is people very excited about a new, warm, dry home back on their whenua Māori, and there are a lot of obstacles. So what I think we need to do is form a position or a group to aid Māori to get back onto their whenua, you know, dealing with te kōti Māori whenua, te punikokiri, kāinga ora, many of the others. I think you understand what I mean. I'm sure you've heard all the stories. I'm going to finish there, but I cannot come on to Mārae without a waiata. I'm the world's worst singer, but I'm going to give it a go. He honore, he kororia, mangarongo ki te whenua, whakaaro, haie, ki ngā tangata katoa. Aki ake, aki ake, ame. Te atua, te parina, toku orana. Kia ora.
Didn't sound too bad.
Thank you. You hum it, we'll sing it.
On the grounds for the singing, because we always need more Kaikōrero. We're passing the time over to our final mayoral candidate, Vince Cockerill. Homai whakapake
Following an act like that. Tia e Māori ora, inga mana, ina waka, e hore wha, tēnā koutou katoa. Me chiamo Vincenzo Cucurullo, and I'm standing for the mayoralty of Whangārei. I'm a person who believes and is actually brought up here in Raumanga. So Raumanga is my home. I've lived here all of my life. I still live in my grandfather's house that he built many, many moons ago. And as a person of Whangārei, I believe in our district, I believe in our people. I believe in our people being able to make their own decisions and going forward, making a district go forward. And that is why I do say I'm against the Three Waters. Because this is assets that you as residents have already paid for. You as residents already own. This is the pipes in the ground. This is the dams. This is the sewage treatment plants that you already own. And as a district, we need to continue owning that asset. And I do not want to see it go to Auckland, and I do not want to see it managed by Auckland, because the time delay between an issue and actually it getting fixed will get longer. The other things about me, and we've talked about passion. There is passion amongst this group here. There is definitely passion up here. They are all passionate about Whangārei. But as someone who's grown up here, studied engineering for 10 years, then left out and gone and run my own IT business for the last 22 years, I've been listening to my community, listening to what my community actually wants and what they say they need. That's why in Raumanga, we've been trying to get footpaths widened, trying to get playgrounds in the Raumanga area, trying to get places for the kamātua to actually feel comfortable. And most of all, about me, and so you understand, I've been on council for 9 years. 3 years under Stan Semenoff, and then 6 years under Cheryl Mai. I had a break there for 6 years. And one thing that I always remember with Stan, he always used to say to me, we all must be in the same waka together. We all must be travelling in the same path. Yes, we can have different views. Yes, we can have different ideas. But if we're all standing in the same path, then we have a district going forward. The other thing that Stan used to always say to me is a kid in sport is one less in court. I expanded that bit further. I believe if a kid wants to be sport or arts or culture, that keeps them out of the court system because they're passionate about it. Because I do not want to see a district full of crime, a district which has got tagging everywhere. But this is me, a product of Whangārei, a product of Raumanga, and I'm here to represent you. Thank you very much.
I just want to recognise our mayoral candidates who come from Onerahi from another event. So certainly they are on back question is going to be directed at those who have not stood or been or served on council before. So this is to those who haven't served. If you haven't served on council, do you view this as a disadvantage for you standing as a mayor? And what are your thoughts around that? Is it an advantage or is it a disadvantage that you have yet to be on council? So we'll go to Shaquille first. Kia ora. Komei taikahi.
Kia ora tātou. This is a bit of a double-sided question because we've been going to these things and our mates that have been sitting on council, Vince and Ken, have been really under fire for the things that have happened in the past 3 years. So in that case, I see it as an advantage. We get to sit there and go, we're the change. But on the other angle, I do recognise the amount of knowledge that these ones who have been sitting on council bring with them. And there's a lot of mahi that they've done in the time that they've been sitting on council, which brings the disadvantage to those of us who haven't been privy to all those meetings and all those hui. So that's the disadvantage for me, but I see, I've stood before for Denby Ward the last elections. I'm giving it a go for Mayor and for Whangārei Urban because the commitment is there. I'm standing to encourage our people to get involved, our youth to get involved, and our multi-ethnic communities. Those are the three groups that aren't involved in local politics. So, kia ora.
Great response. Yeah, I definitely don't see it as a disadvantage because at the end of the day, a council is about people, it's about process, it's about your community, and it's about management of people. And I can tick all those boxes. So I've been watching the council meetings for probably the last 3 to 4 years because I've been planning for this for a while, and I've been watching the dysfunction, I've been watching how it's been going, and I could guarantee you if I go and look at a council meeting and I look at the agenda, I can tell you now it'll take between 2 to 3 hours, and one side will win 9-5. Every vote, you can guarantee it, because it's not unified. So I see it from somebody fresh coming in that doesn't carry in the baggage of the last 6 years or 9 years or 3 years. It's a fresh face and it's a fresh perspective, and it's a chance for those that have been put in a box and kept under wraps that maybe get a time to shine. But I just think that I've got the skills to be able to mould those people together because I'm used to bringing lots of groups of people together. So I definitely don't think it's an advantage. I think there's going to be a lot of skills still in there that we can call on as well. We don't want a wholesale clean-up. We don't want all the knowledge going out the door because no organisation does that because it'll collapse. Thank you.
No, I don't see it as a disadvantage. I see it as an absolute challenge and relish it. The reality around any business, and standing council will say that they're different. We've all worked in different businesses and organisations, and it is about people. The process will exist and it must be followed. Government will ensure it must be followed. But process, accountability, responsibility, action, making things happen, that needs energy, that needs invigoration, that needs youth, that needs new seats. So I don't see it as a challenge at all. I think for all of us, that get to be part of this, we're going in with a desire and a passion to make a difference. And you can't make a difference staying the same. The good thing about tradition, it keeps you grounded. The bad thing about tradition, it keeps you grounded. Cheers.
Look, I see it as an advantage. That's the sole reason I'm standing. I've been there 20 years, I know how things work, and I'm constantly saying, well, why aren't they changing this? We can do this. And I'll give you an example, right? So we've got those over 70s permits, right? If you're over 70, you can park in town for free. This came up in the last meeting. So the disability sector want a similar type permit, so they don't have to park just in disabled car parks. We could do that tomorrow for free. It costs us nothing. It's stuff like that really, really drives me crazy. So I see fresh blood make a big difference because the old blood, they've had their turn and they haven't made a difference. Kia ora.
We'll go to our two sitting councillors now for a response in terms of your experience and what advantage that provides for you in standing as mayoral candidates.
Thank you very much. I guess the first thing that I'd say is that you just don't know what you don't know, and it takes a while to learn that. And I can tell you, I've sat there, and when I came onto council, I've run my own business for 30 years, thought I knew it all. When you get in there, there are things to learn and there are ways of doing things that need to be understood, and they take a little while. I'm not saying you need 9 years, but I think 3 years is a very good apprenticeship. Now Nick just mentioned something about they've had their turn and there's been no changes. Tonight, for the first time, we have Māori wards. Now that's a change. That change was hard fought, and it was a right thing to do, and it's been done. Thank you.
You've had a lot of experience on council. You've been around a bit. What's that in terms of being an advantage for you?
Right. Actually, it's a very simple answer to this. It actually makes a huge difference. There are so many acts, codes and bylaws that you actually need to know. The reading material alone. Now, anyone who's been on Te Whangārei knows the amount of reading that's involved in actually the processes. Council agendas are, sometimes can be rather fat. And you've got to know each part of that. You've got to know how each thing works. You also need to know how the processes inside council work, because the connections between the staff and where the staff actually interact. But the most important thing is you must have a really good relationship with the CEO. He is the only employee of the council. So by having that relationship with the CEO, and yes, you can get it straight away, but by being there a long time, you've actually gained that experience, you've gained that trust, you've gained that ability where they actually believe in what you're actually able to do, and you can go forward. So yes, it does make a big difference being there for a longer time, even 9 years.
If you were to become mayor, what would you do to prioritise them as a group and look to serve and provide a space for them to feel empowered and included in our city? We'll go to Ken first. This is 1 minute turnaround. Kilda.
Okay, thank you. I think youth have always been a problem, even when I was young, or they haven't been. Do you know what I mean? If you look for a problem, you will find a problem. Right now, there is concern amongst the community about the way some of the young people are behaving from right across the spectrum of this town. And I think there were some very, very good answers that the Māori ward candidates put up. It is about being included, it is about feeling valued, and it is about understanding that their futures are there for them to take, and that there are consequences if they don't take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to them. So I think we need to make it clear what those opportunities are. We do need to provide the resources so that they can be gathered in and shown the pathways that are out there, and I absolutely support that happen for the youth. Thank you.
Kia ora. I work with youth. I'm a youth mentor for Whangārei Future Leaders a couple of years ago, which is mentoring all of our different youth of Whangārei, not just our Māori and our Pasifika, but our Chinese, our Indian, rangatahi out there that have a passion for civics, and so we get to be mentors to them. And then our current Mayor Cheryl Mai was mentors to those of us who are mentoring that group. And I really see awesome fruits in following that model. If I was to get mayor, you know how much the mayor gets paid? 150,000 something a year. I'd give a third of that to our rangatahi so that they can shadow the mayor and the council as a paid position. The CEO get to learn the constructs of council so they're not waiting until an older age to learn about these things. My other third will probably go to my mate who drives me everywhere. And the other third is I want to put it to mayoral breakfasts where we have every 3 months or so we have a breakfast to engage with our community, get our youth involved. Kia ora.
In terms of our young people.
It is a hard one because I think if you talk to the police, it's probably only a small group of children that are causing the issue. But one of the things I've found with and involved with sports in school, and a lot of the things with the kids, it's a disconnection. They're just not connected. So they're not connected at home, they're not connected at school, and they're probably most definitely not connected here. And one of the things I've noticed at Tikiponga High School is that I walk around the school and the kids walk around with pride, and they take pride in being in the school. And I can't get my head around I couldn't get my head around when they walk out the gate, they don't. And it's because when they're at school, they feel connected and valued, and they live the values of the school. But when they're outside, they don't know what they're going home to. They don't know what it's going to look like. So I think it's around, the council's role is about connecting, and it's about facilitating those connections. And it's about, the council can't do all the connecting, but it can pull the levers to get people connected. And I remember staying in here when I was at sixth form at Humble High School. And stayed the night in here, and that was around bringing all the kids, the high school kids, to connect them to here. And I still remember that, and I slept in that corner because everyone up here snored, so it was closest to the door. But yeah, to me it's just around using the council to make everyone connected.
Thank you. So I have done a little bit of work talking to 4 or 5 youth groups since I've been here. If you can't see the colour of my hair and you need Specsavers, I can't relate to youth today. If I'm really honest, I can't do that. What I do want to do is provide a framework and find out from youth what they actually need and what they want to actually have achieved for themselves. Where do they want to be? And once we find out where they want to be, then we put a framework around helping them become that. If we don't do that, I'll stay old and they'll stay young, and then they'll become me and they'll have a problem with youth again. So we need to work and understand the kids. I agree. I think a continuum of children, there's only a few that we can actually concentrate on, find out what their needs are. It may be sport, it may be jobs, it may be scholarships, it may be trust, it may be just connection. But I would be talking to them to find out what they need.
Yeah, teenagers, God, we were one of them once. So stray voltage, you've got to get rid of it. There's a spectrum of needs out there, that's for sure. But, you know, I would like to see a community that welcomes them, that for whatever their needs is, there is help. And, you know, they need to know it doesn't matter what your background is, where you come from, what's going on at home. If you have a dream, we're going to support you. You've got a future. You know, we're going to look after you. That's all we can do. We can just offer the best that we can, so that, you know, the suicide stuff, all this depression, all this COVID that's messed up with people, they need to know that's in the past and we've got a bright future ahead. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
I'm sure it wasn't that long ago. But anyway, look, actually, I'm just going to, May, what Shaquille said. You know, a big thing about young people and about our district is about encouraging and mentoring them to actually grow. About getting them behind and actually encouraging them to actually be a part of our district. With a lot of the young people that I've dealt with and I've been involved with, the biggest thing was what they wanted was someone to listen to them, someone to support them, and someone to encourage them. The biggest trouble that we're having around our district at the moment is not necessarily the young people. It is actually a lot bigger than that. And the ministries are there and trying to do their job. Unfortunately, the connection's not there. We need to get, from a council's point of view, we need to get that connection back with our ministries so that they're actually looking after our young ones, so that they have a future, so they have a positive future, so they know where they're going. I believe in our district, our young people, as it's been said, as our future, but we've got to be there behind them, backing them.
Kia ora. Formal partai before we go to the floor is in relation to whenua Māori, and in particular rates, and rating of whenua Māori, because we know we can't sell whenua Māori, we can't sell it. That's whenua tūpuna tuku, right? That whenua sits there for the next generation. But I reflect on 91-year-old Te Hinga Reti at Mōkau recently, who asked, why is she paying over $3,000 for her rates living in Whangārei, because the rates that are valued for Auntie Ida is based on coastal land value, and she's being outrated from off her own whenua, and it's not going anywhere. She cannot sell it. So, in terms of that, what is the equity that is available to Māori in terms of whenua, and what's the benefit of paying those rates? I'm trying to remember Auntie Ida's questioning, because in town, your rates aren't so expensive. Yet out on the coast, we still have dusty roads, we have a lack of services. So where's the equity for our coastal whānau? And I think of my nan, 86, Tūparehuia, Bland Bay. Our rates are through the roof, just like Auntie Ida. And why is that fair for coastal communities to pay, as only whenua Māori, astronomical prices when our infrastructure is so poor? Our dusty roads are still there, and it's still flooding in Parāoa. Kia ora tātou. We're going to go to Ken. Kia ora.
Well, I'm pleased to be leading this one off, I can tell you.
You got it from there that day.
Yeah. Look, the rating system is a tool to get the income to run the council. Now, as such, it is quite a blunt instrument, but it's the only one we've got. It's a bit like democracy. It's not perfect, but it's the best one we've got. Now, there are some systems that are built in to try to fix the anomalies, and I don't feel that it is correct or right at all. It's not fair on anyone to be rated off their land in the case of the old person out at Whānau, who had that problem. So there are systems in place. There is a relief for Māori land, and there is rebate and relief for anybody to come in and ask if they cannot afford it, the fact why, and explain, they have to go through a process and you can get rates, rebates. So it's a big question, ladies and gentlemen, actually a lot more than that to talk about.
Yes, it's very complicated, and we're going to go to Shaquille. What are your thoughts? You're an inland Ngāti Hine / Ngāti Tireno Ngāti Toki, but in terms of coastal rates in particular.
Kia ora tātou, ko tahi noi ho te kupu ki tērā o ngā reti Māori, whenua Māori poko kōhua. Nā reira, my view is that we've only got crumbs left. We've only got crumbs left, and we still have to pay heavily. We've paid the tax, we've paid the rate as Māori people here. And it's only right that we have recognition in all the pain and the struggles that, like my Korani Mama has survived, beautifully may I add, through those systems that really stole from our people, that stole from our landowners and our tupuna. And so it's only right that there is another system, and I believe that going forward with our Māori wards and more representation on the council, that we can work to build more bridges towards those things with the Māori Land Court and all of those other entities to make sure that our Māori land is being utilised and looked after, and our Māori ratepayers are looked after as well. Kia ora.
Thank you, You're a civil engineer, Brad. You would come across a few pop-ups all the time.
Not the jobs that I created. No, I agree. First of all, I agree with Ken that we've got to use the levers out of there because it's not fair. So you've got to use the levers and look at the rating system and say, well, okay, what is fair and equitable? But then I'm probably going to be sit on the side of not being popular, because I think when you look at equitable, okay, if you look at all the rates that are collected on the coast, but then you look at all the infrastructure and what the money is committed to the coast, then that's probably not equitable for the people that are in town, because there is probably a large portion of the rates that are collected here that are spent out there. Because if you look at the people on a road and the cost of the road, and if there's a slip and the cost of money that goes out there, it probably far exceeds, even though yes, you don't have water, you don't have sewage, you don't have all that, but the money, when that stuff happens, all that money goes out there. So I think the rating, nobody should ever be chased off the land because of rates. That's just ridiculous, and I don't think anybody would stand up here and agree with that. But that equitable conversation is a multifaceted, and it's a minefield, and people are going but I'm just being honest that you've got to look at it that we've got to look for the whole district and what's best for the whole district and spend the money. If it meant that we had to spend all of our money out there in one hit, go and do it. But then the next year we might have to spend it somewhere else. So it's about spreading the load.
Kia ora, thank you, Brad. And I'll bring you to the first meeting. No, she'll be there for the porphyry. Mike, what are your thoughts around
Thank you. Look, the homework I did on the rates, it's been answered here. No one should be kicked off their property. To keep my integrity in place, I don't have a bullet answer for you. I don't have that. The reality around lots of areas aren't reinvested in for the amount of rates that come out of them. There are a lot of areas like that. And to Brad's point, we're not picking sides or aligning with each other. The money has to be spent in places, and I think that's about planning and about getting back to the communities and understanding which ones need it first. Which ones need it first. But we have been forgotten about, just not out there, but all of Whangārei, all of the far north has been forgotten about for a long time with our roading and our rates. So we need to work together on that as a team. But no one should be sent away because they can't pay their rates.
Thank you, Mike. Council's quite good at Bayport with our whānau who don't pay their rates. They get a bit of a credit issue with their council rates. Nick, you're on front line.
Yep.
You're a customer service guy. What are your thoughts around Māori and their land issues?
Yes, I think it's bigger than just the Māori and their land. The rating model we've got doesn't work perfectly. It's hard being the tax man because whatever you spend it on, I spend it on Barry, but I've missed out Mary. It's a balance, but clearly want to go on the record, no one ever should have their land sold for rates arrears. We can always work out something. That's probably all I can say. You know, it's like Ken said, it's a big monster. I can't answer it in a minute. It does need to be reviewed. The way it's taken, the way it's spent is inequitable, but there will always be winners and losers. Thanks.
Kia ora, kia ora. Our final mayoral candidate is Vince Cockerill, and we're going to talk about whenua Māori and go to the crowd. Kia ora.
Right, so the question quite simply is what is the aspects, what actually happens with land, Māori land, and relates to the rates? Okay, so let's break it down. We've already heard from the candidates here that rates need to be spread amongst the whole community. We already know all that. That's there. The one thing you probably don't realise that every 3 years we reevaluate how our rates are done, how our rates are calculated, and how it's been distributed. So one of the biggest things about getting that is making sure that everyone has a say in what's actually happening and how the rates are dealt with. There are systems that we've got in place, and they've also been talked about, rate rebates and things like that. But when you have someone who comes into council and they come to the customer services and they don't know this stuff, our staff should be there, and I know that Nick is there, and he is then going through and trying to walk them through a process of how to get things done. One of the things that I've been asked to do over this last year is that I've actually been going out to different people's farms because they're having the same problem. They've been rated off their farms. So it's trying to work out how the system can work for them as well.
Kia ora. Whānau Māori is close to our hearts, but also we have very little left in the Whānau district. So the remnant pieces of land that we live on are very, very dear to us, but also we cannot sell it. So we need to look after it. And certainly we can't lose it either. We're going to go to the floor. My co-host for tonight, Mai George, has a part-time. I'm going to go through the microphone.
Applause, everyone. Mai Māori. Kia ora, my name is Mai George. I've met some of you before. I am on Terenga, and I'm a hapu rep for Ngāti Kaikōrero and Ngāti Uni. Ever since 2020, when we had Kaikōrero get across the floor and actually sit at the council table with some legislative teeth, as opposed to Māori always just being asked, oh, you know, what's your whakaaro, and then we're used as a tick box scenario all the time, you know, all the time in every situation. And so since we've had Aaron, Mark, we've got Sheila, Bernadette, who are strong advocates for Māori, but they also work for council as well. We haven't had such access to council since these whānau have been in place and Kaikōrero has been at the table. So my question is, I was making a statement just saying, but my partai is in terms of equity, what can you do if you were to become mayor to ensure our wider communities minimise. Minimise those gaps for Māori.
Is that to every candidate?
Every candidate.
Every candidate.
You've got 10 seconds. Thank you.
So, quick fire response to Maile's question. We'll go Ken.
Thought you might. Okay, so I was part of the work group that set up Kaikōrero, and that to me was a great example of bringing the people together to minimise the differences. And I think as we go forward, there will be opportunities for us to repeat those sort of things. We must do it in a manner that brings the wider population with us as well, because to be successful, we must bring all the people with us. So it's about staging it and putting it in a form that works for everybody.
Kia ora, thank you. Kia ora, taha o whakaetu ngā kōrero mai.
Bring our hui out of the council chambers and into the marae. That's definitely been one of my suggestions, out into the communities, so that our people can feel like they're welcomed in that space, can feel safe. This is why I'm here tonight. Although I'm really sad of the loss of my great-grandmother, I feel safe in our whare. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Nice of you to remind me. Yeah, I think at the end of the day it comes down to trying to get us closer together rather than pushing us apart. I think that there's certain divisions, not only in council but within the community, that are trying to drive us apart. And those are there. I mean, we've noticed them through this whole election process of people trying to put us in one box or another and then drive those boxes apart. So I think it's about bringing everyone back together and actually realise that why we're here is for everybody, not for one sector or the other. And it's about fully understanding who is inequitable, because I mean, I haven't got a full understanding of it. I wouldn't say that I have, but I think that by bringing us together, sitting us around the table and having those frank, honest discussions, that would go a long way.
A Māori friend of mine said, less hui and more dui is the answer. I think, if we think about even wahine, that there is a closing of equity now around the employment, how we get paid and remunerated. And it's about making sure that framework is understood, so that if people are doing the same role, they get the same. That's all, just making it the same rules for one to get there.
Look, I think we need to work on our strengths and what we share together. Most Kiwi, Māori and non-Māori alike share common values of people, family, community, environment. If we work on our strengths together, we can build on that. Kia ora.
And I'll just add to what Nick's just said. Look, the most important thing is actually making sure we work together. There is every person in our community, which we have a multicultural community, multi-ethnic community. It is unbelievable how multicultural we actually are in Whangārei. And we need to be working together so that we can actually get to outcomes that work for everybody.
Kia ora.
And I'm currently working at the Whangārei Youth Space, and I have a question for each of you. So what are you currently doing to support better outcomes for young people in Whangārei?
Better outcomes. We're going to go over to you, Ken. What are you up to with our young people? What are you doing? 30-second quick turnaround.
Okay, very quickly. I'm domiciled, live in Waipu, so I'm not particularly working with young people in Whangārei, but I do am fully involved in the community out in Waipu and have coached teams all through my adult from the age of 20 right through to in my mid-40s. So I have been part of the community, school boards, coached teams and taken school camps and things like that. So.
Kia ora tātou. 30 seconds is not enough to tell you what I do with our youth. Google my name and you'll see that I come up as a youth mentor for I Have a Dream. I've been working with Whangārei Youth Space. There's a bit of raru on the board for me, so that's why it's been a bit quiet over there. I've taken youth down to Rotorua, to Wellington. I've taken them across the world to New York. And this is so that they get mentoring opportunities that I had, that I wish I had when I was young. So there's a lot of things that I've done with our youth that I am still doing. And all of that, a lot of mahi. Kia ora tātou.
I'd never say that I could shine a light on the work that Shaquille's doing. I think he's doing a fantastic job. Like I said earlier, I'm involved with schools, so at youth at primary school, at Hurapaki School, at Tukipunga High School. I'm involved with Kamo Football Club, which we've got over 400 members of youth, and the only reason I'm there is because of the youth. I'm not there because of the seniors. And also I manage, I've got a 10-year-old playing football as well. He's been playing since he was 4 years old, and I manage and help coach that team. So I'm involved with the youth a lot, and I'm also helping support an 18-year-old to live her best life.
Yeah, like Shaquille, I've been a member of I Have a Dream for nearly 5 years now, and it's quite heartwarming when you see those kids up there and are with them. I won't say I work with them, and I go up and I'm with them. The trustees board was not for profit for a children's trust, where when the child has lost a dad basically, and or a mum, but in the case of the 9 children we had, they'd all lost their dads. So working with them, promoting them, running promotions, earning money to look after them.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I'll be straight with you. Haven't done a lot, got a lot of family commitments, but I will say that my daughter, my teenage daughter and her mates are my strongest political advisors. Thank you.
Probably the biggest things that I've done with young people over the last 15 years is from 2008 to 2019 I ran the Northern Benina Fashion Awards. So I was actually involved in getting young people actually take their creativity out onto the stage. And you see the benefits of that is unbelievable. Especially young kids who think that they can't do anything, and when they actually make something and actually produce it and put it on a stage, you see how proud they truly are. As I said, it's about getting in behind kids and actually helping and encouraging them.
I don't quite understand. Are you saying that we heard the Māori candidates say that they will support Three Waters? Yep. And so therefore, what are we going to, as a mayor, what would we do?
As the mayor, how would you navigate that in the new council coming on board?
Okay, and we've got a minute.
Yes.
No, 50 seconds.
Yeah. Look, honestly, it's a great question, and a minute just can't do it justice, so I'm not even going to start. I'm sorry. It's
something to consider.
No, I've got the answer, but it takes longer than a minute, and to start would just...
It's pretty straightforward. Once you actually show people the assets that they actually own already, and you actually take them out there and show them what's actually being done, they turn around and go, okay, we now understand why the council has a position as it is. Remember, our council, because of our community, had the vision to say no to fluoridation. It is only because central government have mandated it that we now have to include it. So it's about giving our community a voice to make sure they understand what's actually happening. That's why bringing them together on the same waka, in the same direction, they will understand.
My name is Terry Burkhardt. I run a website called www.decolonizewdc.com. My question is to Vince Kaikōrero, a person should be judged by the company they keep, why did your wife and your friend nominate a racist Robin Green for...
Sorry, Terry, inappropriate. Terry, I'm not... Terry, it is inappropriate.
That question is that that's an internal, yes, that's an internal apartheid, but certainly that's something separate to this as well. Yeah? So we're going to move on from that apartheid. Hang on. Hang on, we've got Oriel. I'm going to go to Oriel.
Kia ora na kaitaka tora. Kia ora. Co-chair of Hihiawa Cultural Trust, Oriel Ruka. I have a question for all of you. If you're mayor, how will you know and will be sure to invest in by Māori, for Māori initiatives that will benefit all of our community? How will you know? What will you do?
Kia ora tātou. I'm going to give 30 seconds on that because it's really just putting it out there as a apartheid, really, on Māori initiatives. Hihiawa is a good example.
Okay, so we'll have the benefit of the 2 Māori ward representatives, and if there's an initiative that comes forward and it's put forward as something that's going to benefit people, by Māori, for Māori, but benefit the whole community, I think we have to take advice and we have to listen, and then we'll have to socialise that and get a majority so that we can put it in place. Thank you.
Kia ora. I've got the same question for the council. Matariki, I looked around. What was anyone doing? Nothing. I pulled out of my pocket $1,000 to do an event here. I looked around for Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori. What's happening? Nothing. Had to pull out of my pocket, but still we couldn't because of the constructs on council for a normal person like ourselves to run something. It took too long to organise in the drop of a hat. But with council, with people who are engaged in Māori communities, you can hold them accountable, you can hold me accountable and anyone else that's on council to be there and make sure that these events are organised, they're supported well before time so that we're not running around last minute like we usually are. Our Māori people know we're the last thought. We go, oh, we need to get rid of this funding. Let's head up blah, blah, blah. And that's when you get it, 1 week before it's due to report. Forward thinking. Kia ora.
Well, I actually bounce this back to the equity question that came in around the rates. I mean, I look at how much we spend on a sports stadium, how much we spend on sports fields, how much we spend on the Handawasa, but yet how much do we spend at Hihiawa? So that, to me, we got to look at where the people are and where the base is and where the money is going to be best spent, and is it best spent to suit a small group of people? Like, we never bat an eyelid for sports. I mean, I'm not an artist, I'm a sports person, but I look at it and think, well, you've got to spend the money where the best need is. And I mean, I've been down to Hihiawa, and I really enjoyed it down there, and I've been down to the cultural festivals, but they shouldn't struggle for funds. So it's a matter of getting that pot of funds and where we split it up and making sure that's an equitable split.
Can I just clarify quickly? Yes. Question was Māori initiatives that are good for everyone. Thank you, I'm ready when you're ready. Kia ora. Look, I'll answer this the same way I did to a businessman once. He wants to come to town and make some money and get out. I said, go away. But if you want to come to our district and invest in our people, you can make as much money as you want as long as we are benefiting out of the value of that. Don't come and take us. So if there's a Māori initiative that's there to do and it benefits the whole of the community, of course we should do it.
Yes, look, I'd welcome any initiative. It sounds great. It's the future, us together. I'd like to offer you an initiative. It's a bit cheeky of me, right? But you know the Loop, Pauhi Island Park, I'd like to see that covered in sunflowers, which I believe the Māori word is puti puti rā kōwhai. I think that'd be awesome. Kia ora.
By Māori, for Māori. Raumanga has an amazing community, yet their story is not being told. Raumanga is feeling left out, and I'm using them as an example. By bringing By Māori, for Māori, we need to get the stories of our community actually out there so people can actually see and hear what our Māori have actually done for the Whangārei. What our Māori have actually been part of Whangārei and the growth of it and how it changes. The Māori culture, which you talk about, is one of our major parts, and we need to include that.
Kia ora.
I'm living at Parāoa, which is Bland Bay. And I'm seeing that I'm having to pay rates that are going to Whangārei swamp. And I didn't feel that we should be contributing to that because we're nowhere near the Whangārei swamp. When we lived in Whangārei, yes, sure, I would vote. And they said, well, your rates really go towards the roads and other things. And I said, well, they put on here Whangārei swamp. That's why I'm asking. So I don't know whether they still do that now.
That's a really good question, and I think it's really around, and I can see Ken's got a response, which is really good. So as rural coastal people, why are they paying for the Whangārei swamp or other things that are not within their locality? How come coastal people are being penalised in that way?
Yeah. The Whangārei swamp is a targeted rate, and it's only supposed to apply to the catchment that goes through the Whangārei swamp. So I had a farm at Puipui, that's where I first started farming, and it is right on the watershed of the two, either the swamp out goes all out past Argaville or all the way out through Helena Bay, right? Now, we because we're right at the end, had a small targeted rate, whereas if a farm was right down on the swamp itself, you had a huge rate. It cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And so I'm very surprised that you shouldn't have, if your property was at Bland Bay and that was the only one you're getting rates for, you should not have a targeted rate for the Whangārei swamp on there. I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, it was about 5 years ago, 5 years ago.
Rebate.
Yeah, absolutely. But they read the detail, you see.
I'm sure they do, but yeah.
It's good. Thank you very much. I'm not going to go candidate by candidate because that's a good response. But we've got a couple more part-time and then we finish up. We've got a couple more to talk.
Reiterating what you were saying about being part of our board, Shaquille, can you explain more around what you mean by it's being quiet, please?
I actually can't because it's a private matter between some of the previous staff and current board members. It's an in-house thing, so I don't know if I can elaborate on it. But I'm at the moment, I've been trying to reach out to see if we can have a hui about what's been going on there. Working with the board members and trying to get that sorted. So I can't actually put it out into the public, but keen to have those conversations.
Well, we did have a conversation around that, and you did say that you haven't been invited to a single board meeting over a year. Was that correct?
Since the start of the year, but more so since I took a complaint from the staff members that have since left to the board and it went quiet. But other than that, I can't really, I don't know, I don't want to put too much detail in case I get in trouble.
Thank you. We have to be careful with these sensitivities. We've got one more part from Auntie Hoki and she's legal counsel, so you never know what's going
on. I'm soon to be a new resident of Whangārei District Council at the cusp of in the centre of the universe from Pipiwai.
Dusty roads.
So up in Whānau District Council we have clear policy in regards to rate submission on Māori whenua. So there's a clear application form. Fill the application form, make sure that it's filled out correctly, and you go through. In Whangārei District Council, for the last several years, it's been really, really hard for our whānau to get that rates remission because there's no clear process. There's a policy that's exactly the same as Whānau District Council. There's no clear process, there's no application form, and I've run on behalf of one of my previous clients, asking for the process, and it was discretionary. So how are you as maybe our next year going to change that so our whānau have really clear process and hopefully an application form?
I'm going to target that question to Ken and to Vince as sitting councillors, because in June this year you adopted the Māori rates remission policy. How are we going to make it work?
So my answer to that is absolutely not good enough, and if the Far North can do it, and I'm elected mayor, I would send the chief executive up to the Far North and ask them how they're doing it so we can put it in place. There's no reason why it should be harder.
Slightly simpler answer to that. This is why we have customer services. This is why we have a team of people there to walk people through the process. And that if you have an issue with that, that's where you should be talking to guys like Nick and his staff. Honestly, that's exactly what they do. And they walk the customers through the process of where the rates rebate can be done. So that is their job. So if you have a problem with that, go straight to them. They are very, very good at their job, and they're very, very customer focused.
I've actually done it.
Yep.
I've actually done that.
Yeah.
I've asked.
Yep.
I've called them. I've set out, this is the process. I've put FNDC. I've talked to the person, and when I asked them for the process, they turned around and replied to me that actually it's up to my discretion to actually grant that to a person. So therefore, there was no clear commitment to the policy that you actually have.
Yeah.
So
that sounds like there's maybe an understanding of an issue, understanding the issue from the staff, but there is a very clear process and policy in there, very, very clear. It's easy to read and it's easy to follow. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And if you're kia koutou, we're going to pass the raka back to our taumata to close our hui and acknowledge you for coming and joining us in our whare. Also to our Māori ward candidates, again we mihi to you as our whanaunga. This will be the first time we have embedded Māori voice at the decision-making table for council. O mai te pakipaki. We have fought to try and succeed in mainstream, but now we have two Māori voices that will go forward. You can Google it. Tuarua, make sure that you check your vote pack and you actually tick the boxes. Don't leave it in your glove box. You've got till the 8th of October to land your voting pack in the mailbox. Now, it's only till lunchtime on the 8th of October to vote for a mayor and also for our Māori ward candidates. If you're still sitting on mainstream, activate your vote. E Māori mā. Every Māori vote counts, because we can change council together. And that's a key message to our whānau online, but also to our potential future mayors, is that te reo Māori, ngā māngai Māori will be there for us. And so we thank you so much for putting your hands up to represent us at the council table. Thank you. Thank you so much, Māori. To close us.
Whanaunga, just before we close, can I just for one quick second for those who are watching online, is that even if you don't live in this area and you're a ratepayer, you can enrol on the ratepayers roll and do a special vote online on behalf of your Māori land block or your property that you have up here in Whangārei or the Far North District Council, so don't let that go to waste.
Oh yes, ratepayers too, yes. And if you haven't registered, we had some young people here who hadn't, they registered tonight. And so that's a special vote to te whānau. So once you register, you've got to take yourself down to the engine room at the Mārae Trust and lodge your special vote there, or you can go to Whangārei District Council or Ruakaka or Forum North. I can't I can't do it for you. You need to do it yourself. You need to take your own ID. Auntie Hūhana can't go get your vote. It's got to be ātinana for that person. But ko tai ki te wā, kia whai reo, te Māori, ki rungi te kaunihera o Whangārei, anō, he koromatua hau mo te rohe, he tumu whakarai hau mo te rohe, ko tini katoa te toi tokiro i tēnei wā tonu. Nō reira kia matara, kia mau i te iwi.
Kia ora nei ana tātou. Just to follow through on Uhana's words, is to encourage everybody, our people, to participate in the voting process. much greetings to all the candidates who presented yourselves this evening to talk with the people. So tēnā koutou katoa, and to the mayoral candidates, tēnā motu koutou. If I can ask us please to stand to sing the Waiata he honore, awa koutou katoa himene e a e koe urama.
He honore,
Are we not already grouped?